Good morning, students. Today we are going to study about chapter 2, that is microorganisms, and our today's topic is food preservation. Okay, food preservation. Now, how can we preserve food? So, food preservation, that is chapter 2. Now, food can be preserved by various ways. Okay, so what is actually food preservation? Food preservation is the process by the help of which we can prevent the spoilage of perishable food. Perishable food means food that spoils fast. So we can prevent the spoilage of perishable food by different types of treatments, maybe biological treatment or natural treatments or chemical treatments or physical treatments. Okay, so by the help of different methods and different ways, how we can preserve food. So let us see the different methods by the help of which we can preserve food. Okay, so first we can preserve food, any type of food, just by cooling. Cooling means, that means just by keeping them in refrigerator or freezers, etc. For example, you have seen your mother keeping vegetables, then meat, then fish, milk inside the refrigerator or the deep freezer to prevent the growth of microorganisms, because when we are cooling them, the temperature is the temperature goes to about 0 degree Celsius or even minus, okay, less than that, less than 0 degree Celsius. That means it goes to minus also, minus 1, 2, 3 or 4. So in such low temperature, microorganisms do not grow, so we can prevent the spoilage of food. Okay, so this is the first way, that is by cooling. Okay, by keeping them in refrigerators and freezers. Then by heating and cooling treatment. This heating and cooling treatment is special because it is only for milk. Okay, milk and milk products, basically milk. This process by heating and cooling treatment, here this process was developed by Louis Pasteur, so it is also called pasteurization. Okay, so it was developed by a scientist called Louis Pasteur. So it is also called pasteurization. So it's a pasteurization of milk. That means to convert milk into sterilized or pasteurized milk so that we can consume them even without boiling. So pasteurized milk, if you go to the markets like malls and all, if you buy pasteurized milk, then you can consume it without boiling it because it is already sterilized, free of bacteria. Here what happens, let us see, by heating and cooling treatment, that is pasteurization. Let us see what actually happens here. Here the milk is heated at about 60 to 65 degrees Celsius for about 30 minutes, and then that milk is quickly cooled and it is changed into pasteurized milk. That is what is called heating and cooling treatment. So when we heat something and then quickly cools it, it prevents the growth of microorganisms which are present in milk. So in this way, milk becomes sterilized or pasteurized and we can consume it for a longer period of time. Okay, this method is called pasteurization. Please go through the book, try to learn the definition and the scientist who developed it, that is Louis Pasteur. Then comes by dehydration. So we can prevent the spoilage of food by the help of dehydration. Dehydration means, D means minus, hydration means water. That means to remove the moisture content. How do we remove the moisture content? By sun drying method or by smoking, that means baking method. Okay, so when we remove the moisture content, the bacteria which are present in the food, they stop growing. Okay, enzymes which are present in the food, they also stop being activated and the food can be preserved for a longer period of time. Examples of dehydration, yes, in potato, if we cut slices of potato and then sun dry it, so we can eat that potato after a longer time. After that, by using excess amount of salt and sugar. Okay, salt and sugar means in concentrated, saturated salt and sugar, it prevents the growth of microorganisms. Microorganisms do not grow when excess amount of salt or sugar is present because it acts as concentrated solution or concentrated preservative. Okay, so it is a type of natural preservatives. Like you have seen pickles and all, your grandmother or your mother makes pickles by adding excess amount of salt, or in case of sugar, like in jellies. Okay, then the next way of food preservation is by using oil, vinegar, etc. So oil and vinegar, these are also called natural preservatives because they also stop the growth of microorganisms. Okay, Then comes you can say, by using oil and vinegar. Vinegar is actually acetic acid. Vinegar is acetic acid. We can also use here citric acid. If you go through your book, you will see citric acid also act as a natural preservative, but it is not for a very long period of time. That is why we can use chemicals also. So by using chemical preservatives, okay, chemical preservatives are used in factories, like making of biscuits and making of chips, etc. Different types of food items which are available in packets. So here, very important, sodium benzoate and potassium metabisulfite are used. So these are some examples of chemical preservatives. Okay, please go through the spelling. Sodium benzoate and potassium metabisulfite. These are two types of chemical preservatives which are used in packed foods in the markets to preserve food. Next is by heating and canning. So if you heat something at about 110 degrees Celsius, then the microorganisms are killed. Also the enzymes which are present in food also becomes deactivated. Okay, and we can can them. Can means we can fill them in the cans and then keep them for future use. And the last way by the help of which food preservation is done is by vacuum packing. Vacuum, VACWM. Vacuum means to remove all the air that is present inside the packet or the food, okay, and then pack the food. Like in case of Lay's chips, you have seen the packet is very much swollen, like that means it has been removed or devoid of any kind of oxygen that is present inside the packet. That is by sealed airtight, okay, processes and use of nitrogen. By adding some amount of nitrogen inside the packet, the growth of microorganisms are also prevented. Okay, that means in vacuum packing, inside the packet oxygen is taken out and nitrogen gas is filled, so that microorganisms do not grow in presence of nitrogen, but they grow in presence of oxygen. That is why oxygen is removed from the packets. Okay, so these are the different types by the help of which food can be preserved. Now, what are the advantages of food preservation? Why do we go for food preservation? There are certain advantages. Okay, the first advantage is that we stop the growth of microorganisms and we can preserve the food for a longer period of time. Then we can stop the spoilage of food. Okay, whatever food or shopping is done by your father, so we can keep those food for a longer period of time and then use them every day. Okay, that means we can stop the or prevent the spoilage of food. Also, we can use some off-season foods. See, the seasonal foods are available every day, we get them, but the food which are off-season food, we can store them and then utilize them. Like in winter season, a lot of vegetables are found, but in case of summer, very less amount of vegetables are found, so we can preserve those food in the form of like by dehydration and all, and we can keep those vegetables and then we can make them. Okay, especially these food preservative measures are followed in those areas where distant areas where food is not available every day, like in the hills or mountains or forest. So it is very important to stop or prevent the spoilage of food and to preserve the food. Okay, I will upload the summary. Please go to the summary, learn the different ways by the help of food preservation is done and the advantages of food preservation. Thank you so much for watching this video.